night is alive with secrets. Some whisper through the trees, others scream from the shadows. I'm KikiHollowfang, your guide through the darkest corners of truth and legend. And this is the Midnight Howl, where true crime meets the supernatural and no story is too twisted to uncover. So, lock your doors, turn up the volume, and let's howl at the moon together. Welcome in, guys. Hello, hello. This is my first ever podcast episode in a long time, and I'm nervous, so bear with me. But we are going to be going over the Chris Watts case today because I've been obsessed with it recently, apparently. I've been doing a lot of research and just watching a lot of other videos on it. I still think it's absolutely insane. I think I've watched the American Murder, The Family Next Door documentary on Netflix like 10 times. It's just all so crazy to me, and I cannot imagine being the family member of either Chris or Shanann. It's it's way too crazy. But we're just gonna jump right into it. So we'll start with some background on both of them, just so you guys have a bit of an idea of what's going on here. So, Shanann was born Shanann Ruziak. She was born in New Jersey. Aqua, stop looking at my tail. Stop trying to eat my tail, baby. We have a co-host today. Her name's Aqua. She is on my desk watching my tail move. Don't attack your mommy's tail, please. That'd be real nice if you didn't do that. Oh, you're gonna try. She's gonna do it anyway, baby. Miss Aqua, I need to ask you very, very nicely to not try to attack your mummy's tail, okay? Can you do that, my good girl? Oh, okay, you're gonna lie back down? Alright. Okay. Good, good. Good baby. Good princess. With her little paws crossed like such a princess. So Shanann was born in New Jersey and was raised in a close-knit oh, close-knit family in North Carolina. She was described by friends as driven, very competent, and that she faced a series of health issues, including lupus. In 2010, she received a Facebook message from Chris Watts, a fellow North Carolinian, and she wasn't initially interested, but she would later tell friends and family that the two grew close due to his support and patience during a low emotional and physical stage of her life. I know that eventually, at some point, she was recommended Chris by it was like a friend recommendation by his cousin or something, or by her cousin, or something like that. And originally she was not interested and she deleted the friend request completely. And then later on decided she was going to accept it and said, oh, what the heck, like I'll never meet him, whatever. And yet there they were, 8 years later, with two kids living in Colorado. Now, Chris's family did not like Shanann. They didn't like that she was outspoken, and but that didn't matter to the two of them. They got married anyway in 2012 and moved to Colorado, and they had their first daughter Bella in 2013, and Celeste Catherine, nicknamed Cece, was born 2 years later. Shanann worked for a health supplement company called Lavelle or Thrive. I think Thrive is the brand of things that they sell, but the company itself is called Lavelle. So spelt like level, but said differently. So a lot of her work and stuff was on her phone, on social media, and she was very, very, very present on social media just in general. Like, a lot of people said that there was one interview right outside the house that said that it was almost like you knew her even if you didn't actually know her because she posted so much. Because with MLMs like that, you have to post your life. And even if your life isn't perfect or as amazing or whatever, the goal of MLMs is to get their people to show, oh, look how great this company is that I work for. And I work for this company and like my life is so much better and whatever. And that's not to say that her health didn't actually get any better. It does sound like at some point she was off a lot of medications because of Thrive, and that's great. Like, woohoo for her. But I know that a lot of MLMs focus on social media because that's the best way that you can meet a lot of people and get a lot of people to be part of your downline or to buy things for you from you or whatever. So, like I just said, she presented a very loving family and successful facade. But there was turmoil. Their life was not perfect, even though, Shanann might have presented it like it was. There was a lot of turmoil and struggles beneath the surface that we didn't know about. They filed for bankruptcy in 2015, and the financial difficulties really weighed on their relationship. And in 2018, Shanann became pregnant with their third child, a boy that they planned to name Nico. Because of this, well, maybe not necessarily because of this, but then things got worse, and Shanann was worried that Chris, who was already more reserved and kind of, the introvert of the two of them, um, was becoming isolated from her. She felt like something was wrong and she was trying her best to fix it. He also had recently dropped a significant amount of weight, and Shanann told her friends that she feared that he might be unfaithful. So that's kind of the little background on the two of them, and kind of what's going on between the two of them. So, as I said, Chris was born in North Carolina as well. He was born in the Spring Lake area, where Shanann was born in the Aberdeen area. They met via Facebook, um, and they lived in a 5-bedroom home in Frederick, Colorado that they purchased in 2013. They filed for bankruptcy, like I said, and Watts worked for Anadarko Petroleum while Shanann worked for Lavelle selling a product called Thrive. That's what I thought, that the product was Thrive and the company's name was Lavelle. So there you go. So with all that being said, there is a lot of things going on here. So in the summer of 2018, Shanann had flown out to North Carolina with her daughters to visit family while Chris remained in Colorado. He couldn't get the time off work, and she worked from her phone so she could go wherever as long as she had, a phone and an internet connection. She was good to go. So they flew out for 6 weeks, I believe, and Chris was meant to join them at the end. And they decided that they wanted to. She was flying out there because she felt that she wanted to try and mend things with Chris's family, knowing that they didn't really like her. And so she was going to make an effort to see both her family and Chris's family, and then Chris would join them later. So while they were visiting Chris's family, Shanann got into a fight with her mother-in-law that really made everything um, tense, or more tense than it already was. Essentially, one of their daughters, Cece, was very much allergic to tree nuts, and Chris's family thought it was more a hypochondriac or a Munchausen's type thing where there was actually nothing wrong with Cece, but they decided that Shanann was just making it up and that she didn't have this allergy. And Cece was very, very allergic to the tree nuts. And so Cindy, Chris's mom, decided to give her ice cream that had tree nuts in it and put a bowl of tree nuts out on the table, hoping that she would be proven right when Celeste ate this stuff, that she'd be fine, and so on and so forth. Well, Shanann came back into the room seeing this, and they had a big fight about it, so much to the point that their parents did not go to Cece's birthday party the next few days away. Absolutely insane, first of all, that you would think so, so low of your daughter-in-law that you completely disregard what she said about her children and that you'd want to even endanger your grandchild at all. It's absolutely insane to me, but whatever. Because of this, obviously, then Chris became really distant. He was already pretty distant from when she had left, but this caused more tension and caused him to not really answer her much. And so she assumed that he was avoiding her calls and messages because of this. She did message him and say, like, you need to man up. You need to tell your family that that's not okay. Like, I will not put my child's life in danger, stuff like that. And basically, he agreed with her, but it was very short answers. He would give her 1 or 2 word answers or like a very short sentence of an answer. And that was kind of it. There was nothing else. So Shanann, as we know now, was very right to be concerned because it was later revealed that while she was in North Carolina, Chris began seeing a coworker named Nicole Kessinger while she was vacationing with her family. Well, his family was away, sorry. He told Kessinger that he was to be separated and was in the process of divorcing Shanann, and we all know that that's not true at all. Um, so by the end of July, Chris traveled to North Carolina to meet up with the rest of his family, and that most people there would note later that he seemed withdrawn, like he didn't really want to be there. And Shanann would constantly be telling her friends and other people that he wouldn't even hug her, he wouldn't look at her, he barely seemed to even want to be around her, never mind be there at all. So Shanann did send him a very long text message expressing the heartbreak over how he had been acting, the lack of affection, and she was scared that he didn't want to have this baby. And that honestly, if you look at the video that she has recorded, I will put it in here if I can find it. He seems just the whole thing is very weird to me because he seems like he's not excited at all. And I mean, him being unfaithful, if he was already unfaithful at this time, it makes sense. Or if there was already struggles, I suppose it makes sense. But just, it's very weird because for a husband that has been through 2 pregnancies already, one of the things he says in the video when she surprises him that they're pregnant again is she shows him the test and he's looking at it and he goes, oh, like the cap of it is pink. And so he goes, oh, pink means it's going to be girls, right? And she's like, no, that's just the test. And it's like, you've had two children. How would you not know? Like, yeah, okay, I suppose it's fair if it's a different, like if she used a different type of pregnancy test, or if the type that she used for Nico wasn't out when Bella or Celeste were born. But just to me, when you already have two children, it doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't know that just because there's a pink cap on the pregnancy test does not denote whether it's a girl or a boy. Just very weird. But she did have conversations with Chris that she would then talk about with her friends and family, where he straight up told her that he was scared. He didn't want to have this third baby. And she's like, well, what the heck? Like, you got me pregnant. What do you mean you don't want another kid? Like, what is happening? And so she was very concerned. Um, a few days before August 13th, she had gone on a business trip um with her friend Nicole, a different Nicole Atkinson, and the entire time she was there, it was the same thing. She didn't really get much answers from Chris, if any at all, and she had left him a very heartfelt note being like, "Hey, I really want this to work." Stuff like that. Again, if I can find it, I will insert it. I'll see if I can find it to read out to you guys in a second here. But just a very, very heartfelt note expressing that she really wants their marriage to work. She really wants to work on it with him, and that she really loves him, and she misses all these things that they used to do together and stuff. And um, yeah, no, uh, all right, I found it, so I will put in. I'll put it in here so you guys can see it, as well as read it out loud. Okay, so the letter reads, My dearest Chris, I don't know where to begin. I'm so lost for words. I can't even explain how hard this pain hurts. The last 5 weeks have been so hard. I missed everything about you. I missed your morning breath, your touch, your lips against mine. I miss holding you. I miss smelling you in the sheets. I miss talking to you in person. I miss watching you laugh and play with the kids. I love seeing their smile with you. I miss seeing you naked and on top of me making love. Oh my god, I miss having you around when I felt alone and upset. I just flat out miss the hell out of you. I really don't know how we fell out of compatibility. That is something that Chris texted to her when they were talking about the baby, and something that was expressed to her, and she was just very confused. But they had a talk, which is why she wrote this letter before she left for her business trip. The only major thing that happened was between your mom and I. I can't change what happened, and I will work with you and them to work things out. There has to be a mutual respect from all parties. I apologize for your mom. An apology from your mom personally would be nice. Our daughter's life can't be replaced. You said you would call them and handle it. From there, the strain grew stronger and stronger. The only time I have seen you this closed off was after our wedding. You were so hurt and angry you were done with them. When we found out we were pregnant, I wanted to help you fix the hurt and pain. I knew it hurt you. We worked together to help you through it. I don't want to lose you ever. I will suck it up and be civil with your family because I love you, but there has to be the same respect on the other end. That is what's right. She's not wrong. I can't lose you. I won't lose you without a fight. I will fight for your love, fight for us. I can't imagine life without you. Scares me to death every day you go to work or we are apart flying away. I will do anything always for you, us. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Sorry, the hardest thing I've ever gone through, but you are worth it. Just talk to me. Tell me what you need. I love you, baby, with all my heart. Happy anniversary. Love always, Shanann. So that's her letter to him that she left for him to read before she went on her weekend business trip. She came home on August 13th from Arizona around 2 in the morning, and that was the last time she was seen alive. The next morning, she had a doctor's appointment for prenatal baby stuff, and she did not go to the doctor's and also failed to return calls and text messages. Her friend Nicole, who had dropped her off and lived very close to her, was the first one to really raise concern, and the first one that had messaged her and been like, hey, how are you doing? She knew that Shannon was having issues, and while they were on the business trip together, she wasn't eating very well. She wasn't drinking. She was not doing very well because she really wanted to work on her marriage and she was worried. So finally, she goes over to the house and is messaging Chris and trying to figure out where Shanann is because it's very unlike her to not be posting, to miss her doctor's appointment, to not respond to her people, her friends. It's very uncharacteristic of her. Jesus. So once Nicole got to the house and saw her car was in the garage and her shoes that she wears all the time since becoming pregnant, the really easy to slip on shoes are at the door. And she knows the code to get into the house, but it has the little latch up at the top. And Shanann is very much one of those people because of her lupus that she always wanted people to be able to get to her if needed quickly so that they could get her to the hospital or get her the help she needed. So a lot of her close friends knew the door code to her front door to be able to get in, to be able to get to Shanann if needed. And the fact that the little like chain on the door, the little flip lock was not up or was up was very why can't I say that word? Uncharacteristic. Aqua, why is uncharacteristic hard to say? Hi, Grumpy. Very not like her. She would never, according to her friends, have that flipped if she was the only one home. My eye just stopped. All that being said, Nicole goes to the house, notices all these things, eventually calls Chris to be like, hey, where's your wife? Like, what's going on here? It's very unlike her. Like, I'm worried. Are you not worried? Like, do you know what's going on? Like, what's going on? What's happening? What like she needed some sort of explanation, was very freaked out, distraught, and didn't know what was going on with her friend. So Chris told Nicole that she had gone out for a play date, but wouldn't say whose house she went to or anything other than that, just that her and the girls are fine. They're at a friend's house. Now, Nicole, being one of her close friends and also fellow coworker, probably knew a lot of their friends. Not to say that they knew everybody, but probably knew a lot of their friends, and she felt like that seemed suspicious. And so Chris said, don't worry about it. I'm coming home. I'm on my way home now. I'll be there soon. I think he originally told her it would take him 45 minutes to get home. And so she waited 45 minutes. He still wasn't home, so she called them again and said, like, dude, like, I'm really worried. Where are you? And he responded that he was still on his way home and he was like 25 minutes or something out. And she said, okay, well, hurry up and get here, because if you aren't home soon, I'm calling the cops. And he told her and several other of Shanann's friends to not call the cops and that he would be home soon to figure everything out. He literally told them not to call the cops. I feel like that right there, even if I knew nothing about this case, was enough to tell me what happened. Anyways, he was very cooperative. So when Chris got home, the police were already there because Nicole said, fuck this shit. And she called the police anyway. She was also on the phone with Shanann's mother, well, her parents. And essentially the cop gets there and he's all like, if you've seen American Murder, The Family Next Door, a lot of the cam footage is in there, but essentially he gets there, he asks who she is, she responds and says, hey, like, I'm the one that called for the wellness check. This is everything that's happened. Like, I dropped her off at 2 a.m. She wasn't doing so well this weekend. Her and her husband are having problems, and now, like, she's missed a doctor's appointment. She even said, like, I don't want to get the doctor's office in trouble or anything, but I called them or I went there and I said, hey, like, I know you can't tell me anything. I just need to know, did she come to her appointment? And the doctor's office said no. And again, that is very, very unlike Shanann to miss a doctor's appointment, especially because she has lupus and her being pregnant is a risk to her and the baby being immunocompromised and, like, being what lupus is. So very unlike her and not normal for her to miss a doctor's appointment, never mind not respond to anybody. So the cop does this all he can outside because Chris is the owner, the landowner, so he's the only one that can say whether the cops can go into the house. And essentially, the cop even says to Nicole, hey, you can go in if you're given permission to go in. But, like, I'm not allowed to go in until he tells me I can go in. So he goes, they wait. Chris finally shows up at home and, they're asking neighbors stuff, and Nicole and her son, I think he's an adult or a teenager, not sure. Her son is there with her and he's talking to the neighbors, and one of the neighbors comes up and says, oh, hey, like, I have a camera that can see their driveway. And so Chris is just staying very adamant that they're on a play date, everything's fine, like, whatever, but very cooperative with the investigators and the police and, anybody that's asking him what's going on with Shanann, he just keeps telling them the same thing and whatever. But then, they start going into the house and looking around, and he says, "Oh, like the girls' blankets that they don't go anywhere without are gone. But hey, they'd take those with them if they were going on a play date, so like that makes sense and stuff like that." And then they find Shanann's phone and her purse and just like so many things that no female, especially Shanann, would leave her house without. She works from her phone. If she doesn't have her phone, why, like, where would she be without her phone? That makes no sense. There's even a part in the body cam footage where somebody, I think it's Nicole, suggests like maybe they had gone to the pool. And Chris is like, "Oh yeah, like that's, at first it was like, oh hey, that's possible." Like they're giving him so many outs to just tell them what's going on. And that would be the perfect opportunity for him to say, "Oh hey, like, she'd leave her phone here because you wouldn't want it to get wet," and stuff like that, even though people take their phones to pools all the time. But you know what I mean. So basically the cop goes, "Okay, like could she be at the pool?" And Chris basically just tells them like, no, she doesn't go there very often, and even when she does, like not when it's hot like it is right now. So then he goes into the room and comes back out with her wedding ring and says that it was just chillin' on the bedside table when he walked in there. And just so many things like that. It's just so ridiculous to watch him try to cover his tracks, essentially. He even got on the local TV, local news station, pleading for his family's safe return, saying like he's heartbroken, he's waiting for them to return. If somebody has them, like please just give them back. Like I just want everyone to be safe, like blah 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 blah. And but his body language is weird, and people started, you know, honing in on his body language. They were looking at the things he was saying versus how he was acting. And there's even a few parts of that TV interview where he's smiling. Like a little smirk, not like a not a shit eating grin, but like he'll say like, "Oh, I just want them back," and then there's like a tiny little like smile, and then it quickly goes away. And it's just like, if you actually gave a shit about your family, I think, other than just cooperating, like I can only imagine most, wives or husbands or anyone that's missing children and their spouse would be so much more distraught than him, so much more worried than him. Like he doesn't seem like he gives a shit. And well, it's because he doesn't. So, finally, he says at some point in the interview that, like the TV interview, that they had an emotional conversation that morning, but that everything was fine. And they're going through a separation, and like it's a emotional conversation, and that's all he's gonna say. But like that he doesn't know what's going on. So they go over to the neighbor's house, the neighbor that has surveillance footage, and they show Chris's truck backing up into the driveway and slightly into the garage. And the first thing that the neighbor says is that normally Chris parks on the street. Something to do with his truck leaks oil, so um they don't want that on their driveway, so he parks on the street. And there was people for a little while that were apparently stealing things out of garages, and so he would park on the street so that the neighbor could get the camera angle, to be able to see if anybody tried to break into his truck or into his garage. And so he's acting very weird. He's on his phone. He's not really looking at the footage. If he is looking at the footage, he's acting very sketchy. He's moving around a lot. He's got his hands on his head. He's fidgeting. So another investigator comes by the house, and essentially the cop on the body cam footage says, "Hey, like my investigator's here. You're probably going to want to go talk to him, but like thank you so much for like, for helping us, blah, blah, blah. And Chris leaves, and he looks like he could not be fucking happier to get the fuck out of there. Like, he wants the fuck out of that house. And as soon as Chris leaves, like, as soon as the door closes behind him, the neighbor goes up to the cop and very quietly basically says he's not acting right. Like, this is not how this guy is. Like, he's yapping away here, and normally he's such an introvert and doesn't talk and doesn't, like, he's something isn't right. And so the cop goes, okay, like, thanks for that. So later they like I said, they find out that he was backing his truck into his garage at around 5:17 a.m. And that's a few hours after Shanann would have arrived home. And again, the neighbor thought it was weird because he'd normally park on the street. And it also shows Chris walking back and forth several times, carrying stuff, but you can't really see what the stuff is, but you can see he's putting it into his truck. And so Chris's explanation for this is he had extra tools he had to take with him that day, and he wanted to, like, instead of carrying them across the street where he parked or onto the street where he parked, it would just be easier to back the truck up. But apparently, according to friends and family, the garage would never be opened in the morning because it would wake up the girls because of the orientation and the layout of the house. The girls' room were above the garage, so normally he would just make sure everything he needed was already in his truck. So that's another thing that leads suspicion towards Chris. So later, the police discovered phone data and text messages that confirmed that both that confirmed that Chris was cheating on Shanann and who it was with and all of that stuff. 2 days after the disappearances, he's being talked to by FBI agent Tammy Lee. Now, this is really interesting to watch. So again, if I can find it, I will definitely stick it in here because it is insane to watch how she basically just completely melts his walls down completely because they've been talking to him. He keeps saying, like, nothing bad happened. There's no, I didn't cheat on my wife. I'm not cheating on my wife. There's nothing's going on. There is no extra nothings. Like, I don't know where they are. I don't know what happened to them. I just want them home. Blah, 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 blah. Lying through his teeth. And the investigators can tell eventually, essentially, at one point, his conflicting statements, along with many other things. And so he agrees to take a polygraph test. And it's funny because there are two things I specifically remember Tammy Lee saying. She says, essentially, that if he had anything to do with their disappearances, that it's really stupid of him to take a polygraph. And he laughs and it's like, yeah, that's stupid. And she also says what's really cool is there's one person in the room right now that knows what happened to Shanann and those girls, and by the end of this test there will be two. Which is, again, so clever because she knows. They already know a lot of things that he hasn't told them, like his relationship with Nicole Kessinger. They already know that, but they haven't told him that they know that. So he fails the polygraph with a flying colors. Like, he fails that so hard because he's been lying. And, he keeps trying to say, oh, I didn't lie, I'm not lying. And they're just like, you cannot lie to us. You did not pass the polygraph, which means you're being deceptive. And so eventually he confesses to killing Shanann. But he says that he did it because Shanann strangled their two daughters early that morning. And that out of a fit of rage, he killed her because she killed their daughters. So many people were like, his family and her family, just absolutely ridiculous. And so they finally got him to confess. He told his dad first, I believe, and then told the investigators after that. And she asked them many times because they knew. They knew that Shanann wouldn't do that. And so they asked him several times, "Are you okay with the public knowing that your wife killed your daughters?" And he's like, "Yes, because I didn't do it." And he kept saying that, "Yes, I didn't do it. Yes, I didn't do it." So then he later admitted that he killed Shanann at the family's home, loaded her into his truck, and drove down to the oil field owned by his company, one of the many. And once he was there, um, he he threw Shanann in a ditch somewhere and threw his daughters in oil tanks that were very, very small. Like the hatches to get into those oil tanks are tiny, like 8 inches across or something. So absolutely insane. Just what? 4 months later is when he finally confessed in jail already that actually, no, that's not what happened. He killed Shanann, took his daughters alive out to the oil field, suffocated Cece first, and then Bella last, and says things like he can still hear Bella saying, "Daddy, no," right before it happened, or right as he was about to. And it's like, well, you didn't have to do that. If you really didn't want to be in your relationship anymore, it is called divorce, separation. Like, you do what you have to do, but like, you didn't even try to fix your relationship in the first place. Anyways, so they found her. Chris led them to them, all of them, and he was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, two for two each for the murders of Bella and Cece due to their young age, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy for the unborn Nico, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body. And the Colorado officials announced plans to seek the death penalty, but Chris agreed to a plea deal in November of 2018. So he has several life sentences, I believe, but Shanann's family also said that they had concerns about the potential death sentence, and they didn't want a lengthy trial. And in the aftermath of their daughter's death, they became advocates for domestic violence prevention and providing support to surviving families. In 2019, they won a $6 million civil lawsuit against Chris Watts, although his imprisonment means they are unlikely to receive any of the judgment. Okay, there you go. So, yes, that's right. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, meaning, no, he didn't get the death sentence, but he is staying in jail forever until he dies, which honestly, he deserves it. In 2019, he gave a jailhouse interview in which he admitted that the murders were premeditated and that he had been planning to kill his family for several weeks with a desire to start a new life. Bro, see, I didn't know that part. That's something I didn't know. I knew that he admitted that he actually didn't kill Shanann, or that he did kill Shanann, but she didn't kill their daughters. I did not know that this was actually premeditated. There you go. And the funny thing is about, well, not really funny, but the ironic, I guess, thing about family annihilators like him is it's almost always premeditated. So probably what happened was he ended up being with Nicole, really liked how everything was going with Nicole, had no kids to tie him down, was enjoying time with her very, very much, and decided that he was just going to kill his whole family and just start a new life and nobody would ever know. I think what he didn't think about was the amount of people that care about Shanann and the fact that she was so online, so into social media, at least on Facebook, for sure, for her job, that it's not like if she just disappeared, nobody would notice. And I think that's something that is just so crazy to me. Um, Obviously, this has triggered intense media coverage, um, much of which is focused on the seemingly happy family life that Shanann presented online, even though they had a deteriorating relationship. And it was also notable because of the young age and vulnerability of the victims, a pregnant wife and, two kids. I think Bella was 5 and Cece was 3, or Bella was 6 and Cece was 5, maybe. Um, I guess they said 2 years later, so I guess Bella would have been, or Cece would have been 3 or 4, which is just absolutely insane. And this obviously has led to several podcasts, such as mine, documentaries, movies, and um, such as Chris Watts' Confessions of a Killer. I have cited and named the American Murder Family Next Door several times. It's on Netflix. If you want to look more into it or want to know any more about it, you can definitely go watch those. There's lots of other podcasts. I think there's actually a few channels that dedicate themselves literally just to this case, like only this case. A lot of what I learned is from that. But this whole thing is just so crazy to me. And I don't understand. I just can't understand why you think killing your whole family is better than just either at least trying to make your relationship work, or uh file for divorce. Like, obviously Shanann wanted to fight for your relationship, and I mean, you could have tried at least for a little while. Apparently Nicole Kessinger also said several times to police when she did her interviews that she told him, like, hey, go fight for your relationship, fight for this like beautiful life you seem to have, because she had been to their house when Shanann was away with the girls and had seen, pictures of them everywhere, and just how good his life seemed to be with her, and basically told her, like, hey, make this work, like, go fix your marriage, go do that, like, don't worry about me, go fix your marriage. And I guess apparently he really didn't want to do that. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to be trying to post podcasts every Sunday, probably maybe around noon MST, and we'll see how we go from there. Um, I do hope you guys enjoy, and if you have any cases you guys would like me to review or talk about, please put them in the comments as well. I do have a list of them, but I will definitely be looking for more eventually. I'll need some more for sure. But if you guys like this, please make sure you give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more reacts and more podcasts from me. This channel is for the reacts I do at the beginning of my streams over on Twitch and Kick.com. Um, and my name is the same there, KikiHollowfang, if you'd like to follow me there. I do also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me doing stuff like this, and one of the tiers, the highest tier, is you can be a guest star on this podcast. So if that's something that interests you and you'd like to support me further, whether it's through being at my streams or sharing this and, doing the free options, or if you'd like to come over to Patreon and support me that way, it'd be much appreciated. Either way, I appreciate you guys for hanging out and for watching this. Hopefully I did an all right job. Like I said, I'm a little nervous. This is the first episode of a podcast I've done in a very, very long time, and it's a little nerve-wracking, so I hope I did okay. If I missed anything, please let me know. I do my best and I try to research as much as I can, but I also just don't want to talk about the same exact things every single time, because there's so many other documentaries and stuff on this and podcast episodes, I'm sure. So I did my best. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitch, Kick, Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the follow button or go check out my other socials, and I will be happy to see you in the next podcast or next video of whatever sort. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. And remember, guys, dare to climb, but don't be afraid to fall. And I'll see you when the blood moon rises.